Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 649. 649. January the 1st, 2019. 2019. First day of the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. Unfortunately, today's TowerGate video is not necessarily a prognosis for a Happy New Year if you're a Trump supporter. As I have always done with my TowerGate videos, is I've tried to be a realist. There's many people who do videos who will sit back and tell you all sorts of things that you would love to hear and love to believe. I've never been one of them. I've always tried to just tell you what I think based on the evidence I see. In more than 30 some odd years of studying government, history, military history, and all the rest. So I just lay it out there the way I see it. Sometimes people like that. Sometimes people are offended by that. But I'm just going to be myself and continue to do what I always do in my TowerGate videos, which is point out the evidence that I've discovered or uncovered, along with many other people, which I get commonly from open source material, and tell you what I think about it. And then I check the comment section as frequently as I can to see what you guys think about what I think. You never have to agree with me. You can disagree with me on just about everything. That's fine. So, that's basically what I try to do here. So, as I deliver the TowerGate video for today, I just want everyone to keep that in perspective. I call them as I see them, good or bad. So let's go ahead and get into today's TowerGate news for the beginning of the new year. And by the end of this video, I think you'll understand where I'm coming from. First of all, I want to talk about the comment the Rotten Reverend Clinton made to Trump's tweet about getting out of Syria. Once Trump announced that he was pulling the troops out of Syria, which it appears now that he may have had his mind changed, but prior to him having his mind changed, he, of course, tweeted out that he was getting the troops out of Syria, made the big announcement, the whole 9 yards, and many people cheered. I'm not so sure that's going to happen or whatever now. It's just hard to say. But after Trump tweeted that out and made the announcement that he was pulling the troops out of Syria, the Rotten Reverend made the following tweet. She said, "Actions have consequences. And whether we're in Syria or not, the people who want to harm us are there and are at war. Isolationism is weakness. Empowering ISIS is dangerous. Playing into Iran's hands is foolish. This president is putting our national security at great risk." That was the Rotten Reverend Clinton. Actions have consequences, and whether we're in Syria or not, the people who want to harm us are there and at war. Isolationism is weakness. Empowering ISIS is dangerous. Playing in Iran's hands is foolish. This president is putting our national security at great risk. Before I go through and break down that tweet, let me first go back and remind you all of one of the documents that was leaked from WikiLeaks. The following email was among those things leaked by WikiLeaks. This was an email sent by the Rotten Reverend Clinton to a group of people in the State Department who worked for her. This is the tweet that she sent out throughout the State Department that she was head of. This is what that email said. Quote, "The best way to help Israel deal with Iran's growing nuclear capability is to help the people of Syria overthrow the regime of Bashar al-Assad." That was the email the Rotten Reverend Clinton sent out to folks there in her State Department. Again, she said, "The best way to help Israel deal with Iran's growing nuclear capability is to help the people of Syria overthrow the regime of Bashar al-Assad. Now let's look at her tweet again. Actions have consequences. Yes, they do. And whether we're in Syria or not, the people who want to harm us are there and are at war. Yes, and we just recently learned, and we've known for quite some time, Reverend, that Obama's administration and your State Department were sending weapons from Benghazi, from Libya, into Syria, and arming the rebels, another name for Al-Qaeda, and ISIS in Syria. Isolationism is weakness. Again, using the term isolation. Isolationism is not what Trump is practicing. It's not what Rand Paul or Ron Paul talked about. But they use that word isolationism. Every time we don't go jump into a war or stay in a war we've been in for 15 or 20 years, and you try to pull out, you're accused of being an isolationist. Typical claptrap from the war-mongering deep state and their allies like the rotten Reverend Clinton. Empowering ISIS is dangerous. Yes, it is. So why did you arm them, Reverend? Playing into Iran's hands is foolish. Yes, it is. So why did you cut that horrible Iran deal, Reverend? And then lie about it. And then try to cover it up, along with some other things. This president is putting our national security at great risk. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's putting you and your deep state criminal friends at great risk. Selling out 25% of America's uranium to the Russians for a big fat Clinton Foundation donation is certainly putting our national security at risk, Reverend. What about that? But you see, the Reverend gets a free pass. Everyone in the media knows about this email from the State Department that Hillary sent because it was in the WikiLeaks dumps. Everybody knows. I just wanted to point that out to you in case that you have forgotten what a hypocrite the rotten Reverend is and how wrong she is. Unfortunately, her friends run the place. The whole place, brother. They run it all. They run it all. Department of Justice, FBI, intelligence community, global intelligence community, the global banking cartels, the media, the massive thousands of government agencies and bureaucracies, the courts, and just about everything else. Politico has obtained a letter from alumni. Let me start that over. Politico has obtained a letter from alumni of the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign, who in the letter claim that there were rampant sexual violence and harassment during the 2016 primary at the Sanders campaign. The signatures of over 24 men and women in the letter say a dangerous dynamic existed during the last campaign, from field organizers to top officials in the campaign. Now, the Friends of Bernie responded by saying, harassment of any kind is intolerable. So the signers of this letter, they want to get together and talk about it. Well, I think that clearly shows you that they have every anticipation that Commie Bernie is going to run in 2020, and I expect he will. I mean, he made big time boatload of money on the last run. Why wouldn't he do it again? I mean, if those supporters are stupid enough to donate millions and millions and millions of dollars to him after he sold them out in 2016, why wouldn't he do it again? It's easy money. And I'm sure there'll be millions of those Bernie bros dying to max out their credit cards again for the hope of a Bernie presidency in 2016. It's just not going to happen. But they're true believers, and I've found that when people really want to believe in something, no matter how freaking crazy it is, they'll believe it to their death. Hopium. A lot of hopium out there. So nothing will actually happen here. Sanders is clueless about what goes on in his campaign. He's just counting the money. As far as another part of this is why we just now hearing about this. There was all this sexual harassment and sexual violence going on within the Sanders campaign. And we're just now hearing about it. We know about the cheating that went on. We know about all the other things that went on. We're just now hearing about this. Who do you think this is coming from? What's going on here? It's hard to say. Maybe this is part of the. Maybe this is coming from DNC operatives trying to sideswipe Bernie before he can even get the run started. Who knows what's behind this, or why this would be leaked to Politico? Why this would have been put off for so long. I mean, the election's been over for a long time. This is the first we've heard about this. Something strange about this. I don't know what it is, but there's something awfully strange about this. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, Bernie's going to run. He has no chance of winning, of course. I'm not sure how he's going to run. I guess he has to run as an independent, because I think the Democrats made up rules that would keep him from running as a Democrat. They're not going to allow him to switch party at the last minute, become a Democrat, and then switch back to a independent after he's collected up all the money. So who knows what's going on here, but Commie Bernie's practically, insane anyway, so he probably doesn't even know what day it is. So who knows? Just more craziness. So we got the Bernie Bros, and they are ready for Bernie 2020. But of course, they need to deal with these sexual harassment problems on the campaign, so that doesn't happen again. What, Democrats? Democratic socialists sexually assaulting each other? Is that what we're being told? That's the way it looks from this letter. But what else do we have going on? Well, we have Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, who's now basically come out and made it pretty clear that she's doing her exploratory to run. She absolutely is running, and she had every intention of running the day after the 2016 election ended, is when she decided to start running. The fact that she's been saying she's probably not going to run all this time has been BS, and we all knew it. We all knew it. We've been saying it's BS. I've been saying it for a long time. She's going to run. Then, of course, we have Beto. Good old Beto, who people are just now figuring out, as they didn't know, apparently didn't care in his last campaign here. They didn't know that he's married to a billionaire heiress. His wife's daddy is a billionaire. He's a real estate developer in El Paso, Texas. A billionaire real estate developer in El Paso, Texas. Beto's wife. That's who her daddy is. Beto was the number 2 recipient of money amongst Democrats from gas and oil interest, specifically fossil fuel companies. He had pledged not to take fossil fuel money, but he broke the pledge. He took $430,000 from fossil fuel companies. Do you think Beto is still going to be the boy wonder? Do you think that the progressive commies are going to give Beto a pass? Then, of course, we have this story last week about Biden having his feelings hurt because Obama hasn't called him to offer support for his running in 2020, while, in fact, he's been calling on people like Elizabeth Warren and Beto. So we can already see what's going to be happening here in the Democratic primary in 2019 is going to be a freak show. These Democrats will be turning on each other. The party will be split and divided. It is going to be an absolute freak show because eventually all these people will be forced to turn against each other. What will happen is each of these people, and you can throw Kamala Harris and all these other people, there'll be about 20, 25 Democrats throwing their hat in the ring, and what they're all going to have to do is carve out some niche, some group of people within the Democratic Party that they feel are going to be their solid base of support. They're all going to be going for this solid base of support, and they want the most active group. That's going to be the people to the far left. That means that every one of these characters are going to have to appeal to the far left. They're all going to try to out-left each other, out-commie one another. And that is going to be a freak show in itself. But they'll have to turn against each other because they have to point out the flaws in each other to try to steal the supporters from the individuals they're pointing out with the flaws, which will be everyone but them, of course. So the Democrats will be eating each other in 2019 for the opportunity to run against Trump, assuming he's still in office. So there's a lot to watch here in 2019 in the primaries. And what's going to make all this really, really funny is that after these 20 or 25 Democrats put all that money and all that effort and all that energy into trying to win a Democratic nomination, and they run it out month after month after month, when they finally get to the end, you know what's going to happen? The rotten Reverend Clinton is going to drop a big fat turd in the punch bowl. You watch and see. After these people have gone through all this, beating each other to death, the rotten Reverend is just going to lay back and lay back and lay back and let these people beat each other to death, run themselves out of money, and tax themselves and exhaust themselves till there's very little left. And then she's going to come in the last act of the play, a couple months before the Democratic nomination is sealed, and it'll be clear there's still no real strong front runner, because it certainly isn't going to be Bernie, it isn't going to be Biden, it isn't going to be Beto, it isn't going to be Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas. There's nobody in that field who's that strong and can raise that kind of money. The rotten Reverend Clinton knows this. She is going to lay back in the weeds, let all these people beat each. They're going to beat each other to death, and she's going to come in the last scene of the play and drop her hat in the ring. Guarantee it. She'll be loaded with cash. She'll have the support of Wall Street, the whole 9 yards, and she'll say it'll be and of course it'll be a rematch of 2016, and she thinks she can win that rematch. You watch and see if that's not what happens. Because silently, behind the scenes, the rotten Reverend Clinton will have her people working to destroy each and every one of these Democrat candidates. The rotten Reverend Clinton will have her people in the mix. It'll be her people out there stirring up the fights between these people, causing them to go after each other. She'll be working very hard behind the scenes with her operatives to help this Democratic field destroy each other. She'll be working very hard at that. And that's exactly what she's going to do. You watch and see. Russia has captured what they claim to be a U.S. spy. They say his name is Paul Whelan. He's been arrested while engaging in spy activities. The U.S. State Department has been advised. Then, of course, we get Mr. Potato Head, John Brennan. You just knew he was going to pop up. So, he pops up with this latest tweet, and he says the following. It is my sincere hope that the forthcoming exposure of your malfeasance and corruption will convince enough Republicans to abandon you in 2019. We have had enough of your whining from the White House. We need an actual leader. Our nation's future is at stake. This is Brennan in response to Trump's tweet about the media giving him bad press for bringing the troops home from Syria. Let's keep in mind, Mr. Potato Head was one of the primary leaders of the coup. He doesn't seem to be very worried. Wonder why not? He just keeps on tweeting. Then we get this story from the Gateway Pundit. A former expert in dealing with snitches in the FBI notes that the Steele dossier would never be used in a court of law. The document is so bogus and from such a contaminated source that it would be laughed out of court. This is true. Also, that the FBI knew that Steele was compromised, but told the FISA court he was a trustworthy source. He was, of course, paid by the FBI, the rotten Reverend Clinton, and a group of California billionaires. And God knows who else. Yes, the dossier would never stand up in court, but they took it to the FISA court anyway. Why not? They're getting away with it. It appears that they're getting away with it. Judge Collier hasn't seemed to have any problem with it. The Judiciary Committee hasn't seemed to have any interest in focusing in on it, or if they did, they've given up the ghost. In fact, here it is right here. It's right here in my notes. Yeah. There is not going to be a report from Goodlatte and Gowdy, or from Nunes. So Nunes, Goodlatte, and Gowdy spent the last almost 2 years interviewing these witnesses, looking at all these documents, doing all this stuff, because they were going to get to the bottom of it. And now they tell us, doesn't look like there's going to be a report. No report. No report from Nunes, no report from Goodlatte and Gowdy. And, of course, this is the very committee that will be looking into the FISA, lying to the FISA court. That should have been a slam dunk. So there will be no final report. And even if there was a final report, we've already learned a week ago that would have to go through Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob would have to approve of the final report before it would be released. So, they went through all that dog and pony show, put me through a year and a half of videos covering that stuff. All for naught. All for naught. All those interviews, all those witnesses, all that evidence, all those documents. What do we get? Zero. No report. Just a letter recommending a special counsel, which I'm sure Rodenstein will be listening to. Then we get this nutcase, Noam Chomsky, which a lot of people, they think this guy's great. I've been telling people for years this guy's an idiot. And of course, he's making the comment, Trump is worse than Hitler. Noam Chomsky, Trump is worse than Hitler. Noam Chomsky, I've been telling people, I hear people, Noam Chomsky, he's on it, man. This guy, he's really got the deep state. Bullshit. Bullshit. This guy's total gatekeeper, 100%. This guy is for the most big government, one world government, global socialism. He's a total Marxist. This guy's a hack, total hack. Can't believe that people take him seriously. And anyone that would say Trump is worse than Hitler, you cannot take that person seriously. That's disturbing. This guy has some serious credentials academically, which is why we should shut down every university in the effing country. They produce people like him. We should shut them down. Send people to trade schools. Learn how to do something. Make something. Build something. Jerry Brown says climate change is an enemy as devastating as the Nazis. Again, another comparison to Hitler and the Nazis. Climate change. Climate change is an enemy as bad as Hitler. Hitler was an environmentalist, by the way. A greenie meanie. That's probably where they got it. Here's a very frightening statement from Lindsey Graham, who I don't trust as far as I can throw, right along with Pence, or who Baseman calls Bannon. What was his name? Race Bannon or whatever, from Johnny Quest. Well done, Baseman. You nailed it on that one, brother. Lindsey Graham says, quote, becoming Trump's ally is absolutely worth it. I have had more access to this president than every other president combined. What does he mean by that? Becoming Trump's ally is absolutely worth it. Being Trump's ally is absolutely worth it. What's it? Becoming Trump's ally is absolutely worth it. I've had more access to him than any other president combined. And now it appears that Lindsey Graham, along with the Joint Chiefs, have talked Trump into backing out on his idea to pull the troops out of Syria. Just like they got him to back out on declassifying documents and many other things. His base is not going to like this. You know, he's a hell of a troll on Twitter, but that only goes so far and so long. It's starting to grow very, very old. You're not going to prosecute the deep state crimes by tweeting. You're not going to end the war in Syria by tweeting. You're not going to take down the deep state by tweeting. It's going to take some very bold, brave, aggressive action to take down the deep state. And and there's not much time left. As I said at the beginning of this video, man, I give it to you straight up, man. I don't believe in the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, or any of these other things. I really don't believe there's going to be military tribunals. I know a lot of you do. That's fine. A lot of very intelligent people, a lot of people I like, they believe it. That's fine. I just happen to be one of those people who doesn't believe it. I don't believe there's a secret plan other than Trump tweeting. I said about 10 days ago before the shutdown that they better execute have a very serious strategy for a media PR campaign to combat what's coming. I haven't seen it, other than Trump tweeting. Trump is surrounded by enemies. One of them is named Lindsey Graham. I fear another one's named Mike Pence. Surrounded by enemies. He's got very, very few people who are giving him the straight shit. And the ones who are, he doesn't appear to be listening to them. I think Jim Jordan's a straight shooter. He says declassify it. Mark Meadows is a straight shooter. He says declassify. Nunes is a straight shooter. He says declassify. Everyone else says don't do it. Who does Trump listen to? Why is he listening to them? What's the plan? If the plan's tweeting, eventually it's growing old. His base is getting tired of it. In just a few days, the Democrats will take over. And the assault that he's been under for the past year and a half, almost 2 years, it's about to increase by 10 times. And Uncle Bob? Uncle Bob is not leaving until Trump is gone. The way to get rid of Uncle Bob? The way to get rid of Uncle Bob is appoint a special counsel. Trump can do that. He has the authority as president to pick up the phone and call Whitaker and say, A.G. Whitaker, I want you to appoint a special counsel to look into what happened during the 2016 election at the DOJ and the FBI and the intelligence community and all the rest, the FISA court abuse, the dossier, the whole 9 yards. I want a special counsel to look into every bit of it, as well as the cover-up of the Spygate criminal conspiracy. That's what I want you to do, Matt. Appoint that special counsel and get it done. Appoint a good one and give him a good team. And make sure they're all hardcore Trump supporters. Put DeGeneva on the team. Put Tom Fitton on the team. Make sure that you get a prosecutor who hates Uncle Bob, who hates the Rotten Reverend, who despises the deep state, and has a team of highly motivated people who feel the same. A highly partisan special counsel, just like the one that's going after me, Matt. That's what I want you to do, Matt. That's a direct order. If Trump does not act soon, if he does not act soon, and I mean within the next 90 days, he's got about 90 days. At that point, I think that I think that at that point, it's going to get very, very difficult. Because at that point, the entire media cycle will be controlled by the Democrats with the primaries. Pelosi and the criminal Democrats in the House are going to be dropping every subpoena and indictment you can think on everywhere they can. They're probably going to go after Ivanka and Jared. They're probably going to go after Don Jr. You're going to have Mueller's not going anywhere. You got the Southern District of New York now looking into Trump's business dealings. You've got all sorts of things. It's not going away. It's only going to get worse. Much, much, much worse. I don't believe in any secret plans. I don't believe in any of this stuff. It's great that some of you do. Maybe that helps you. Maybe you really believe that. And that's fine. It's okay if you really believe that. I just happen to be someone who doesn't believe in it. Because I've lived through too many of these things. I've seen these types of things before. They come and they go. They come and they go. I think that it's just as likely, I'd say there's just as likely that that's all total disinformation coming from the deep state. Maybe Uncle Bob is Q. Who knows? I don't know. But I know what I see. And I cannot find a single good reason in my mind for why it's a good idea to allow what's been happening for the past 2 years to happen. why it's a good idea. I can't think of a single reason why it's a good idea. He should have blown the whistle on this thing day one. As soon as he was president, the very first thing he should have did the day after he went to the White House and became president, he should have appointed, in my opinion, he should have set up a presidential commission to investigate what happened during the 2016 election. Before Uncle Bob even had a chance to even get out of the chute, he should have launched that investigation, and there would be people being held accountable right now. But instead, he's lost complete control of the narrative. He's allowed the Democrats and Uncle Bob to gain complete control of the narrative. He's battling on Twitter, while Uncle Bob's indicting people and digging into Trump and everyone he knows. Then we have the criminal bankers sending a very powerful message here about a week or two ago, letting Trump know that they can crash the economy if they want to. So the deep state's fired up. They're loaded for bear. They're coming for everything, man. They're going to destroy Trump, period. Now, we can sit back and watch it happen and dream about military tribunals and 50,000 sealed indictments and all this kind of stuff. Oh, we can dream about that all night long. I'd love to blow some sunshine up your skirt and make you guys feel better about that. I'd love to sit here and tell you all this wonderful stuff, but I have no evidence of any of it. None of it. An 8chan message board. I need more than that. I'm looking at what's actually happening. And I can find no good reason why it's a good idea to let the Mueller witch hunt continue, to even have even gotten started. I can't think of any good idea why not to declassify these documents. It doesn't matter when you declassify the documents. Well, the media is going to come out and say it's all turn it around and turn it on Trump. They're going to do that anyway. If he waits till he's completely under fire and damn near going to be impeached and then does it, it'll look even worse. This thing's been mishandled from day one. As I've said before, he needs to pick up the phone. He can still appoint a presidential commission, but they work pretty slowly. But at least they're done in public. Or he should tell Whitaker to appoint a special counsel now. He doesn't have much time, my friends. Does not have much time. Uncle Bob's not going anywhere. More investigations are coming. More subpoenas are coming. More pressure is coming from all sides. The perps are running around out there completely free to do all the things that they're doing. They're still coming for him. At least ways, if you appoint a special counsel, they at least ways know that they're now being investigated. Uncle Bob will now know he's being investigated as part of the cover-up. You want to shut down Uncle Bob? Appoint a special counsel. Make sure the very first person the special counsel interviews is Uncle Bob. About him being involved in a cover-up of a coup. That might shut him down. It'll certainly quiet him down. It'll certainly slow down and throw a wrench into the spokes of the people who are going after him right now. But doing nothing but sitting back and tweeting is doing nothing. It's nothing. It's going nowhere. And people are losing patience rapidly. He's got his base. They'll support him. But he's got to act. He's got Whitaker in there. He has the authority to tell Whitaker, I want you to appoint a special counsel. Now, as far as declassifying all that stuff, yeah, he should have declassified it, but if he appointed a special counsel, they would have that information. They could get everything. Everything. Everything Uncle Bob's got, and everything Uncle Bob will not show the Congress or the president or anyone else. We just learned a day or two ago, Trump hasn't seen a lot of this stuff that we think he's seen. We're thinking Trump's seen all this stuff. No, he hasn't. Nope. He hasn't seen it. Hasn't seen any of it. All he knows is what he's been told by Nunes and Gates and Meadows and Jordan. Just what he's been told. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And as far as my prediction for 2019, it is going to be a very tumultuous, chaotic, troublesome year. Not just here, but on the other side of the pond. We're likely going to have a hard Brexit. That's going to create a lot of chaos in Europe. I expect that there could be a European central bank crisis right in the middle of all that, sometime around the middle of the summer. It's all going to translate. I think it's going to be a very troubled, turbulent year for markets and money. I think that Trump's going to be under massive assault, and I believe if he doesn't take some action in the very, very near future, he's done. That's what I think. It's just my opinion. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you. Bye.